Hi again. This video today is a request. I can't remember who it was that asked me to actually do this, but they asked me, am I going to do a video on the difference between Cameron and Blair, and who's the worst out of the two, really. It's very hard to make a decision out of these two people, really, based on quite a lot of the things that I've been reading more recently. In the wake of the damning Chilcot report with the invasion, with David Cameron refusing to say that the Iraq war was wrong or a mistake, Mr Cameron, who voted for the war in 2003, also of course Blair, refuses to do the same. Obviously there's a reason why. Anybody that's involved with anything, that has been responsible for anything, that is clearly been made to be seen as wrong, have got to then do everything to try and find reasons behind or make excuses for that action. Peter Mandelson of the Hartlepool constituency, connected to the Jewish bank Lizard and Bilderbank group, that he also voted for the invasion. Of course, Hilary Benn, the plotter, known to have got up a petition to get Jeremy Corbyn to resign, voted for the invasion. Tom Watson, of course, voted for. David Miliband voted for. There's a huge amount of all of these people that have actually resigned from the opposition right now, who voted for the Iraq war, which says quite a lot, doesn't it? Especially, we know that Jeremy is very much anti-war, and that he would like to see all those that did vote for be sort of held accountable in some way for what has happened, and none of them want to put their hand up and say that they were any way responsible. There's a lot of these pictures at the moment. There's a little boy, I've put it on my Facebook wall, a little boy that's absolutely traumatised and damaged by the bombs being dropped in Syria, and everybody's, oh my God, terrible, terrible. Why don't you think about this before? Do you think that when you drop bombs on people, you're only dropping bombs on ISIL? Do you actually believe that that's the case, that the people in Syria are all members of this group, this terrorizing organisation? No, they're not. They are children. There are schools. There are people. There are innocents. They're civilians. And, there's children being pulled out of these wreckages, dead, some alive, all of them traumatised. And though we get to see all the positive side of it all, we see these women sort of being liberated and everything, still we fail to really understand that when we vote for bombing, we're voting for those children to experience that. We're voting for these people to experience the worst kind of thing that will ever come to them. Although we're liberating them from that trauma in the first place, there's other ways to do it. There are other ways, and that is, I think Jeremy was talking about ground troops. The military are necessary. I'll go into that a little bit later on. But in response to all of this, with the report, during a parliamentary debate on the report, Conservative MP John Barron asked, will the Prime Minister now do something that no government has done since 2003? And that is to apologise and absolutely, accept that this is wrong and a mistake. And Cameron replied, I think the people should read the report and come to their own conclusion. Mr Cameron also rejected a plea by Caroline Lucas, the Green Party MP, for him to apologise for the Conservative Party's role in the backing of the war, which allowed Tony Blair to become a rebellion by Labour MPs opposing the invasion. Shall I just turn this down a little bit? Oh, sorry. I'll probably end up with some copyrights or something if I have things going on in the background, won't I? Anyway, Mr. Cameron has absolutely rejected apologising in any way for their role, and which allowed Tony Blair to overcome the rebellion by Labour MPs opposing the invasion. Jeremy Corbyn, of course, apologised for the Labour Party's role in the war to heckles from his own MP. So there lies where all of these things are coming from. And now it seems a parliamentary committee will examine arms sales in Saudi Arabia for use in Yemen, after bombing has led to claims of human rights breaches. But not only this, I hear there's also concerns about the UK arms sales in other Gulf countries as well. And as I've said in previous videos, those being bombed are now being bombed out of their homes, children out of their schools, children killed with our bombs. And according to one newspaper, 119 strikes that it said violated international humanitarian law, including attacks on health facilities, schools, wedding parties and camps for internally displaced people and refugees. And that is absolutely disgusting. Nobody can say that any of this is right. You can't defend this. The Arms Control Committee Chairman, Chris White, of the Conservative MP for Warwick and Leamington, said that the defence and security industry in one of the UK's most important exporters. However, it is vital that its financial success does not come at a cost to the nation's strategic interests. How is this remotely acceptable to anybody? We're being ruled by warmongers using arms as trade and then going out there to bomb them further, making out it is to bring peace. David Cameron has defended British arms sales to the Gulf countries as entirely legitimate. How is starting wars, selling arms out there, in any way legitimate? And where I've had some debate on my own videos about Vlad Putin and what he has to say, the reality is what he's saying is right, isn't it? Right there, he's right. He's saying, you are the reason why all of these has happened. You are to blame. You've been selling arms out there. And yes, I understand that Putin is no angel, and I understand his history, but we need to deal with this now. And right now, this man is talking sense, and and this is truth. What he's saying is truth, and we are being called out as being the problem, whilst they are calling him out as being the problem. They don't like truth, and this, throughout every part of law in this country these days, we're getting to a point where there is no truth in law. I've said that one before. I've been involved in law cases myself. I really can see that it is all unlawful. Lies are being passed as truth, and those that tell truth are actually then being called out as being the problem. One thing's for certain, I don't think it's a good idea to make Vladimir Putin our enemy, and that's what I'm appealing to on my videos as well. It's common sense that we know that he is speaking common sense, and this is the mirror that goes on. When you speak no common sense yourself, you see the mirror, but when you've got something to hide, that mirror is rather blurry, and all you can see is somebody being a problem to you because they're telling the absolute truth about something. And the only way that anything can change is for us to change. But how can we change? How can any of our governments change if they don't actually say, I'm doing wrong here, we've done wrong here? This is only going to keep carrying on and on. They're going to carry on doing the same and denying what they're doing. They're in total denial of any responsibility. Jeff White on my video said about Vlad Putin, the nonsense he's been spewing for the last 4 years before that makes us sound like crazies, and we wouldn't want to put any trust in him. He's an expert on exploiting situations. Of course he will jump on it to sound reasonable. Don't ally yourself with him. Full stop. He's no innocent player, even if the West has its own terrible histories he or anyone could refer to. Now, I understand this, and this was my response. I understand this, but his perspective is sound right now. And from what I can gather, we, meaning our governments, move in many circles to do all kinds of different jobs. Many, not just governmental jobs, but those working within councils will willingly do jobs that abuse others. When I look back and realise what they've done, to all of us, we have come to this awakening somewhere as we live our lives, and we need to understand that it isn't a trust that I put in Putin, but a recognition of common sense and truth. One where we need to recognise, we all need to recognise that it's not about aligning ourselves, but if we're telling the truth and we're understanding the truth, then it's not about making friends with anybody, but it is about you're just understanding that what this person is saying is right, and you're saying it too. It's not an alignment with somebody, but it's just an alignment of facts. And so I hear these people and their views, and their history books are filled with teaching us how this is wrong and that's wrong and these people have done wrong and we're the good guys, and we can start seeing actually this is happening right now, and it's about time something is done about it. We cannot keep letting ourselves be told or taught we're the good guys in this, and we're certainly not. We're not at all. Where we have all sort of agreed with any war, we need to remember the words, let he who cast the first stone. I have a feeling that anyone wanting to work with him now, he will work with them for the greater good, but that's my thought. And as I said to this Jeff White, I said I do tend to be right. He goes on and says that it's not it's only because the DNC and the Labour Party are acting so bad at the moment, but in reality he does exactly the same and worse. And it's like calling you out on something that I'm doing. It's just like the DNC and the Labour Party right now don't give him that credence for him to look like an honest player. He is far from it right now. He's just a smokescreen. That's from Jeff White. And as I've said, the above is about Vladimir Putin and not Jeremy Corbyn. I think that he's talking about Jeremy Corbyn then. But in response to this, from my perspective of Jeremy Corbyn, the man who has clearly all his life stuck to one political agenda, and that is one of human rights, fought for freedoms and rights, and compared to many others who have worked in industries where their loyalties may be against their own agenda within the party, I think Jeremy Corbyn's agenda is sound. And as I say in my most recent video, I've had a debate with an R.C. Garrick in regard to her wishes to JC or Jeremy Corbyn to shift policies on nuclear energy. She has campaigned for a nuclear station to be built, and she's campaigned for this for a long time, but Jeremy Corbyn is steadfast in those policies and promises that this won't be swayed. And so she doesn't like this, and she's shifted to Owen Smith and his cronies, as GMB have backed his wish on nuclear energy and fracking. And although she doesn't actually agree with fracking, my guess is she thinks that she can sway Owen Smith's views on that. But do we want a leader whose policies can be so easily altered? We want one that's going to be a strong leader who delivers what he's promising, don't we? We want him to stick to those promises, and not suddenly change because some other MP has decided, oh no, I like this policy better, and you know, if you don't do that, I'm going to go here and I'm going to leave, and making all sorts of threats. Jeff White says, I tend to be right too, until history proves us otherwise, of course. But in this moment, the last thing we need to do is look like we're duped by Putin's spectacular propaganda machine. It runs deep. Well, you know, we just need to look at what's going on, the arms deals to the Gulf by our own government. I mean, it's proven now. They're looking into it, and our governments have committed atrocities. They're selling arms to people that they're on our own list as people that are committing atrocities. So it just doesn't make sense, does it? Our elitist political agenda, using Murdoch's media to back them up, isn't any less being duped. We are being duped by them all. We're being taught and told what's right and wrong, and who's right and wrong, and if we are waking up to something, they don't like that one little bit, and we're being called trots and Nazis and all sorts of strange words, but then being told that we, Jeremy Corbyn's apparent fan group, are the abusers, which is rather bizarre, isn't it? And again, that is where people just do not like to take responsibility for what they are saying, what they're doing. They're doing the abusing, but they will project that somewhere else. They cannot take responsibility, and so it to them, in their own mind, they are totally stuck with the fact that they're right and everybody else is wrong. So that has proven my point about the sales of arms that we're involved in, and Putin is not wrong. And I'm sorry about all the noise that's going on outside. I don't know what's going on. It's usually very quiet up here, but somebody's doing something out there and planes going past. Another debate I've had has been in regards to ignoring of abuse in children's homes, and this one's close to my heart, so I think it's going to have to be for another video. I don't want to bore everybody half to death with my droning on about all of this, but these things are very valid points that are emerging, and they're interesting to me, how it all seems to be that people are self-protecting. These people that have walked because they don't want somebody like Jeremy Corbyn in power are projecting. They're projecting on everybody possible, including the members, including the potential voters and everything. There's a way through it all, and it takes some time, like for somebody like Jeremy Corbyn to take the bull by the horns and make these changes regardless of the calls from those MPs who clearly have so much to hide. And it really does show the extent of the wrongdoings that have been going on behind the scenes, and that makes them so afraid of someone like Jeremy Corbyn. Now somebody called DM on my thing, unfortunate name because you sound like somebody from the Daily Mail. They say, hi Catherine, I think that they like to have a near incompetent MP or someone lacking in integrity to fail in understanding that the Labour Party is being attacked and deconstructed by the infiltrating right wing. New Labour is still going rebranded as Progress, with all the same multi-millionaire scumbags at the top. They have no intention other than to deconstruct the left, putting real democracy beyond our reach. They're working to implement the right-wing policy at all levels wherever they find an opportunity, from the local gentrification, kicking the poor out moving and the bankers and wealthy in, to selling public services to private companies or leasing them to peppercorn rents, then ousting local left-wing councillors who oppose them wherever they can, e.g. Rachel Haywood. This is a long-term 40 years attempt to put the left out of action, running since Heath, our paedophile Prime Minister, and Thatcher. Thatcher even named Blair as her proudest achievement, For info on pedo health, search UK intelligence consultant Michael Shrimpton. So yeah, and as I've said there, I agree, and my dealings with R.C. Garrick has led me to that conclusion, that where they will rather stand by those elitists because of one policy that stand by a man who doesn't agree with that one policy. The party is the main priority for us, and obviously for Jeremy, and all the the party stands for. But one party, which she stands for, whilst moving over to someone else that has dubious policies under his sleeve, which she knows about, but thinks that she can talk him out of those things because he appears such a weak-minded man. He probably is. He's probably following, all of those higher elitists, and he's just being the little pawn in the game. Owen Smith has more Tory potential agenda generally, but right now he is putting on a big lie, and that he agrees with everything Jeremy Corbyn says. And today I noticed in a debate between Jeremy Corbyn, he thinks Jeremy Corbyn would gladly have ISIL around the table. As I've said earlier, Jeremy Corbyn outright said that this is not going to happen, leaving Owen Smith stumped. And this man is such a liar, isn't he? He is such a liar. He's among these elitists. He's probably offered a huge sum of money to challenge Jeremy Corbyn, and he is a con man. And that's all I can say about him, trying to win the position of which, after all of this, he's involved in the continued underhanded sales of everything else that goes along with, being in alignment with the Tories' agenda. And we have to agree to appease with those elite multimillionaires who have said repeatedly and use Murdoch to back their cause. These are losers with a lot to lose. And that's what we're up against right now. This is a revolution of change on a massive scale that we have to take baby steps towards addressing this change. And so that it can be allowed to happen, it has to be taken in small steps. Every revolution, if it's taken in one massive leap, it means lots of deaths, lots of people dying and fighting for their rights. But this seems to be a revolution on a spiritual change, with a spiritual, in these small ways, changing things politically. But it takes for us to wake up first. It takes for us to vote in the right person that's going to take the lead in doing this and make these things happen. And the more of us wake up, the more the voters wake up, the more we join as the members and get ourselves involved, the more this change is going to happen, the quicker it's going to happen, because there's less people to fight. And the reality is, it is, the world against about 200 people. And so we really must, all of us wake up. And it's unfortunate sometimes that, some of the people that are against the right people are seemingly the most powerful. But the reality isn't. The only power they have is money. And they will use that money in the courts and things, and they will try and stop us from doing things with their money. But there will come a time when money doesn't buy everything. It can't buy people like Jeremy Corbyn, and we have to be people that can't be bought as well. So there's another person that was talking on my thing with an unfortunate name, because I'm actually a mother of a son with learning disability. His name's Left-Wing Retard. I don't like that very much, but there you go. He says all religions are satanic and secretly worship the demirage. My response to that is that, to me, Satan is as elusive as God, and to me, neither exist in human form, just in spiritual form, and in the form of thought and consciousness played out in actions. To speak of it, we must. believe in its opposite too, and perhaps utilize this energy more to overcome it, instead of dismissing it as religion being the problem. We all, I've seen so many people talking about this is satanic and this is demonic, and the only way to overcome it is goodness, isn't it? The only way to overcome anything that is seen as very negative, evil, wicked, is to overcome it with the light. And that, that's, as stupid as that sounds, that is the reality. Only goodness can overcome the bad, the dark. So, and here's my little cat. She's so beautiful. This cat is so beautiful. Say hi. Hi, Floofy. So that's my video for today anyway. We are not good people. Well, our governments aren't good people. We are good people. And we can make the change. We can make the change. It's down to us all. Once again, thank you for listening, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Lots of love to all. Mwah.